All right, let's do this. How to build high converting Klaviyo email campaigns for your e-commerce brand. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to build high converting, powerful e-commerce or powerful Klaviyo email campaigns for your e-commerce brand. So here are some results that you can expect if you follow this strategy. So that's the total store revenue. That's the amount through Klaviyo, and then you can see here the amount through campaigns: 500,000 over this 30-day period, 81,000 over this 30-day period, and 389,000, almost 390,000 in this 30-day period. So what you're going to think about is when it comes to email campaigns, they are unlimited free retargeting ads. That's what they are. So imagine one day if you pay for ads on Facebook, imagine one day you get a notification in your Facebook ads manager that you can retarget your highest quality leads for free with whatever message you want. So that's what we're talking about. So an email campaign is an email that you blast to a defined audience, sometimes your entire engaged list, at basically the same time. The purpose is getting pre-qualified free traffic to your website whenever you want, right? So the only catch is people can unsubscribe. So if we continue that analogy of free Facebook ads, imagine Facebook tells you can retarget them for free with whatever message you want, but you have to stop. You only have to stop if they specifically ask you to stop. So that's still pretty good, right? But you can continue retargeting everyone else for free. With all this in mind, it should be clear that an email campaign has 3 goals. So you want to deliver the right message to win yourself another chance to convert people who either bought from you in the past or almost bought from you at some point, right? Even if they didn't buy. The second goal is to get them to click on the link in your email. And the third point is to pre-frame them just enough to reinforce their own buying decision. Okay, so here are some examples of individual campaigns and the results you can expect. So an effective email campaign typically follows a clear structure. So you want some structure in place before you start randomly writing or designing the email. When you have a solid structure in mind, the email basically creates itself. And you basically just want to have something that gets you into flow state. You don't want to be staring at like a blank screen or anything like that. So what you want to prep beforehand: the body, your above the fold section or your header section, some kind of proof for the claims you're going to make, and then last, your subject and preview text. So that's another tip as well. Write this last. A lot of people write the subject and preview text first because it feels easy, and now you've kind of like confined yourself to such a narrow field to work with, and now when you try to write all this stuff, it's just a pain, right? Okay, so your body. Start with this. Your body says everything you need to say and nothing more. That's important to get them to click your link. You can link to a specific product page, a collections page, your home page, or even split test your links, right? So don't over explain. That's important. Just win the click. If anything, you want to err on the side of under explaining so that now they have a reason to click and close the loop in their mind. So leaving open loops can be a good thing if you do it right. So imagine like you're at a store, you're holding a product, and the clerk shows up and they start spewing a bunch of points that you never asked for. They're trying so hard to like get. So you were like, I was already going to buy this product, but now that they're like doing all this explaining, I almost don't want to now. So that's what you want to avoid. Remember that people are on your list because they're already interested in what you're selling. So if you over explain and just say a bunch of stuff that they don't care about, or if you sell a supplement, if you mention a bunch of ingredients that they actually don't care about, then they're gonna be like, do I really need this? Like I wasn't. So don't over explain, just reinforce what they already believe about your product. Okay, so here's an example of a body section. So social media's favorite collection. Another tip here is to not use the word you in situations like this. So if I said your favorite collection, now you're giving a reason to argue with this. They could be like, this isn't my favorite collection. What are you talking about? But if you say something like social media's favorite collection, the internet's favorite collection, America's favorite collection, now you've introduced curiosity instead of deniability, right? Now you're like, oh, what is America's favorite collection? I want to know. And then you click, right? So it's kind of like, I think I heard Hormozy talk about this, but like, if I say you should eat oatmeal every single day, you're immediately on the defense, right? Like, no, I'm not going to do that. But then if I said, I've been eating oatmeal every single day, and then now that puts you into your curiosity. You're like, oh, why did you do that? And then if I explain it, and then I say an argument that makes sense to you, you will helplessly want to try it as well. If the argument makes sense in your mind, but you wouldn't even be curious about it. You wouldn't even be curious to hear that information if I said you should eat oatmeal every single day, right? So that's the reasoning behind writing copy like that. Okay, above the fold. Once you've written your body, accept the fact that now 80% of the people who open your email will not even scroll to read it. So great, you've written all this. Now 80% of the people aren't going to read it. Why? Most people don't scroll, right? So take your 3 to 4 most compelling points from your body section. So, and then use these to populate your above the fold or your header section, right? So your header specifically is 1 sentence. Your subheader can be 1 to 2 sentences. So that's this right there, header, meet the bins turning heads. Subheader, 1 to 2 sentences. You've seen them on your feed. Are you ready to try them for yourself? CTA, 1 sentence. Shop sculpted collection. So these are the bins turning heads. We have a photo of it, and this is where they can click. That's important as well. Have something to give them something to click, assuming they don't scroll, right? Okay, your proof. How are you going to back up your claims? In this case, what's our claim? We're saying that the bins are on social media. They're going viral on social media, right? And that's what we're using as proof. We have screenshots of the posts. They can view on Instagram. They can shop the collection. This is the resolution on this is terrible because I did like a scrolling screenshot or whatever. In most cases, your proof is going to be a testimonial. I used a weird example here where like the body is the smallest section and the proof is like the largest section of the email. Usually it's the other way around. The body is like a little bit longer and the proof is just like a 1 review. So in most cases, I thought like it would be cool to show an example of a unique case, but like in most cases, it's going to be a review that mentions someone achieving exactly what you're claiming they'll achieve using your product. So if you're saying that this supplement will help you sleep, you find a testimonial of someone specifically saying that that supplement helped them sleep, and then you show that at the end of your email. That's the best case. Something, if you don't have a testimonial like that, an alternative, a review mentions someone achieving exactly what you're claiming they'll achieve using something from your store. So maybe not that specific product, but your brand may be known as a sleep brand, and then they say brand name helps with my sleep or whatever. If that's not available, a review mentioning a generic positive experience using your product or using your company. So that's like, there's always going to be some kind of proof that you can use. Might not be the strongest, but something is going to be better than nothing, right? So other forms of proof you can use if you don't want to use a review or if it's not relevant for that particular email. Just like what we had here, we just have screenshots of what we're claiming. So a screenshot of a scientific study, photos demonstrating the claim. So this is going to be relevant for a lot of like fashion brands where if your implicit claim is, the implicit claim broken down of any fashion brand is you will look cool, like you will get attention if you wear this shirt or whatever. So no one's going to leave a review like, I look cool wearing, the proof is more implicit, right? You have photos that people submit of themselves looking that way. And so you might have photos demonstrating the claim, especially for more like implicit visual aesthetic kind of brands. Screenshot of AI verifying the claim. So for example, this is getting popular now because people use AI for everything and they trust AI. So if you say something like, well, let's continue the sleep supplement analogy. Like if you have a melatonin sleep supplement, for example, and you ask AI, does melatonin help with sleep? And then AI says, yes, melatonin helps with sleep because of this point, this point, this point, this point. And a screenshot of that is something that's been working well lately. Screenshots of your market from outside your brand. So this is like, you could get screenshots from like YouTube comments, Reddit things, or like celebrities or influencers saying like, oh, I started using melatonin. Even if they're not specifically talking about your brand, just make sure you're not claiming that they are promoting your brand. Make it obvious that they're not specifically talking about your brand. Maybe you want to like censor out their names. If it's like just a random person that's talking on like a YouTube comment, just like censor out their username because it would just be weird to promote like a random person like that. But anyway, the final point on this is that there's no argument against including a review in every single email you send, right? It takes up such little space. It's so easy to include, and it does a disproportionate amount of heavy lifting. Like the rest of your email could completely flop, but that one review might be exactly what someone needed to see in order to get them to click onto your page, right? So there's no argument against doing this, but most, like 90% of emails don't have reviews on it. I don't understand it, right? So just go into your inbox right now if you have like a burner email where you subscribe to brands and like open your first 10 emails, see if they have a review at somewhere in the email. And why not, right? It's just weird. There's just no argument against this. Okay, so your subject and your preview text. Okay. This is the last thing you want to write, and it should be easy, right? So if you do your campaigns correctly, Your list should be opening your emails regardless of what the subject line says because they want to hear from you. You're sending high quality emails. So they're more likely to open the email because of the sender name, which is your brand name, regardless of what the subject line says, right? So here's an example of this. People want to open the emails, right? So this is a brand we worked with, and all the way on their Amazon reviews, we have people talking about how they signed up for emails and how helpful they were. So that is what made them want the full content and buy from Amazon. So for the sake of new profiles, and since you're in competition with other brands in your inbox, you'll still want to do this with some thought. So don't just write something random. So some rules to keep this in mind. So I was hesitant to even get into this because there's always scenarios where we break these rules, but just to give you an idea. When you're delivering a discount, if there's a promotion on, make it clear, right? So for a good way to do this is just to have the discount in square brackets and then write whatever subject line you wanted to write in the first place. Or the entire subject line could just be focused on the discount. So something like last call for 30% off. If you're delivering something that they specifically signed up for or asked for, make that clear. So if they signed up for an early access to your Black Friday sale, if they signed up for your welcome discount, something like, as promised, here's 30% off. As requested, here's your welcome discount, something like that, right? And assume that they need reminders about what you sell. They might not remember your brand name, but they'll remember the category of products you sell. So they might be in the market for red light therapy, but they might not remember your specific brand name, right? So something like red light therapy for pain relief versus your brand name for pain relief. They might forget what this is, but it's still, they might remember that that they're looking for pain relief, but red light therapy for pain relief. So if you're going to mention your brand name, also mention also have some kind of hint as to what product you're selling, right? Don't assume that they all remember your brand name and exactly what you sell and what products you have. That's just not the case. So whenever you say we've already talked about this, you're attempting a high wire act because you're introducing deniability. So talk about others. That's the thing about your favorite collection versus your social media's favorite collection. Okay. So, this is my favorite way to do this. If you do this, you can ignore all the other rules, right? So open your inbox, scroll until you reach an email that you want to open from a brand that you don't know. Now you have undeniable proof that there's something about the subject line that works because it worked on you. And then reverse engineer that and repurpose it for yourself. And the reason this is my favorite method is because you don't even need to know why it worked, right? Who cares why it worked? You know that it worked. So a lot of these explanations that people give for this works because of that, because of that, a lot of times is made up, right? So all we know is that it works. And if you copy that structure, it's probably going to work for you as well. So here are some examples of good and bad subject lines. The caveat to this is that good and bad is it depends on the brand because some of these brands are so well known that anything they sent will still work. So it doesn't matter that it's bad. But so that's my only caveat. But there are still things that make the subject line good or bad. So I'm still gonna talk about them. So the I have nowhere to be outfit, that is good. That makes me curious. What is the I have nowhere to be outfit? I want to know. But then this one, your only New Year's resolution, no, because they said now they've introduced deniability. No, my New Year's resolution has nothing to do with ditching chemical soap or this brand. There's no way this brand's going to know what my New Year's resolution is. It introduces that argument, right? You don't want to introduce any arguments. You just want to make them curious to click onto the email. So new in zip sweaters, that's good. What are the new zip sweaters I want to see? Even if I don't care about zip sweaters, I'm maybe I will, right? I just want to see what new zip sweaters they have. Your favorite t-shirts? Again, no. Because that's a high wire act. Maybe I do trust that brand enough to click and be I do like these t-shirts. But for every person where this is true about, imagine all the people that open this and they're no, I don't like these t-shirts at all. And then that permanently, whether subconsciously or consciously, decreases the likelihood that they're going to open your emails in the future because they don't have the evidence that your emails are going to be congruent with what they're expecting. So here's an example from this same campaign we were talking about earlier. So the subject line we use to get them to look at this part of the email is sculpted bins are having a moment. They're absolutely as advertised. And then we have the name of the person who left that review. So here, someone reads this, they're curious. What do you mean they're having a moment? What kind of moment are they having? Click. And then we see meet the bins turning heads on social media. Then they read the body. And then they see all these recent posts that people are making. Okay. All right, so let's go through some more breakdowns. These are going to be more rapid fire style. So this is for an ADHD relief with a mushroom supplement. So the what is our mushroom nootropic supplement gummies can help with ADHD, specifically with the pain point of ADHD tax. So ADHD tax is basically the concept of people with ADHD, or it's a certain lingo that people in the ADHD community use, where it's they find themselves unnecessarily spending money on things because of ADHD. Like they'll buy duplicates of things that they already have by accident. They'll have subscriptions that they forgot to turn off. So all this extra money that they're spending added up is referred to in that particular niche as ADHD tax. So the why should they care? Our supplement helps with ADHD, and it's cheaper than the money you would otherwise lose due to your ADHD symptoms. So you're actually profiting, you're actually making the money back by using this supplement. How can they acquire this benefit? Get a supply of our supplement. The proof, and we have a product review specifically from someone with ADHD who's gotten results with this product, which is a really strong form of proof. Okay, so subject line, 45% off to opt out of the ADHD tax. Do you know the true cost you're paying? Curiosity, right? So anyone who sees that subject line will be curious to click. If maybe maybe they haven't heard the term ADHD tax and they'll open just to figure out what that is. Do you know the true cost you're paying? That's a question that they want answered. Again, gets them to click. And then your header section. So 45% off all bundles is the main point of this. The why should they care? Beat ADHD tax with the pain boosting power of mushrooms, results guaranteed. And then here's a button that they can click right at the top here. And then in the body section, we're explaining everything else. So this is all the points that we wanted to say that we couldn't quite fit into the header. ADHD tax is real and you've probably paid it this week, and we're explaining that pain point in depth. We're agitating that pain point. We're saying it's not their fault and how we can help them solve it. And we have a risk reversal as well. If you don't feel the difference within 30 days, we'll refund you. And then the how, we can get them to click. And the proof. So I've been using Mojo for a year and I love it. So implicitly, another thing that makes this review strong is it talks about the benefits of using it long term. So you're cluing them in on, you're selling them on the idea of like being a repeat customer from the get-go, at least implicitly. And they mention ADHD, and they talk about their experience, and they talk about how our solution helped them achieve the results that they were looking for. And then another CTA. So have CTAs everywhere. Give them reasons to click as many times as you can within the email, not just like once at the top and once at the end. Okay, let's go through another example. Okay, so this one is for a women's health supplement. So this is some high quality sauce that you deserve if you've watched this far. So this is an example of how you can get more sophisticated with your goal for the campaign. So what if the goal isn't to sell any particular product, although this email will generate sales, but the main goal is to do research. It's to figure out what will generate the most revenue in future emails, every future email. So how to generate revenue and research your list at the same time. So the goal here is to discover the most common pain point on the email list so we can focus more on that pain point in future emails, generating more revenue per email because we're getting more accurate with the pain point that the most of the list cares about the most. Okay, so what's one thing we can help with that makes the rest easier? And then we're asking them what they want help with. And we can actually track which one that they click on, right? So skincare, unwanted hair, weight management, mood and energy. And then, so that's the above the fold section. In the body section, we're explaining each of those in detail and asking them to click on the one that's most relevant to them. What we found was unwanted hair won out both in the header section and in the body section. So clearly that's the main pain point that we want to be focusing on for this list. So what did we do in future emails? We focused them on facial hair specifically. So here's a social proof email. More unwanted hair. Simpler way to manage unwanted hair. Why does the hair always come back? Stressing over unwanted hair. So we figured out the pain point that this list cares about the most, and most of the future emails were focused on that particular pain point so that we were not guessing, and this strategy started to crush, right? So now we've gotten way more accurate about what the list cares about. We're not guessing. We're sending them exactly what they want to see. And we're presenting our product as the solution to that problem. So example breakdown number 3. This is going to be the last one. So the what, we have a certain amount left of a product. So why should they care? It's our newest product. There's a limited amount left, and launch discount is expiring. So we've got novelty, we've got scarcity, and we've got urgency all in one email, which makes for a very, very strong campaign. How can they acquire it? Tap the link and claim theirs. The proof, we've got trusted by pros and a photo of a professional athlete wearing the brand logo. So again, this is a known brand, so that's why something like, oh, it's our newest product is enough to get people excited, right? If you're kind of like an unknown brand, you might want to focus more on a pain point. But because this is a very known brand, people are excited about their product. We already know all of that. Just saying it's a new product is going to be enough to get them excited and want to buy the product. So here's a header section. So only 391 left. Quick, the next 391 pre-orders on the brand new Nova Knit Ultra are 30% off, and here's where they can get it. And then the body and the proof combined. So this is the proof here. So we've got an athlete wearing the logo. So this is when you have stuff like this, make sure you include them in your emails, because this is what sets you apart from other brands in their inbox. The fact that you exist in the real world. You're not just a brand that, someone on their kitchen table spun together and launched a couple days ago, right? So this is like, you actually exist in the world. There are people that know about you. Professional athletes are sponsored by you. Those kind of things are going to work really well. Obviously, you use what you have, but you probably have more than you think, right? There's probably a lot of things that you could be using in your emails that if someone like me were to come into your brand and start tinkering around, would identify that is you're kind of blind to in the moment, right? So use what you have and remember that you probably have more than you think. So again, CTAs all over the place. And okay, so that's the end of the breakdowns. Let's go over some key questions to ask when creating an email campaign. So what do you want to have happen, right? So, and then walk through each step of that question. Okay, what do you want to have happen? I want people on my email list to buy this product. Okay, what do we have to do in order to make that happen? We got to make them to click onto the product page. How do you get them to click onto the product page? You make them want to click onto the product page. And then that's how we extrapolate these questions. So how will I build their desire to click on what they want, what I want them to click? Where am I going to direct their focus? So it's 40% of the time, it's going to be themselves. On the other 40% of the time, it's going to be our product. So a lot of people will say, don't talk about your product, talk about them. That's correct advice specifically for cold traffic. So a lot of people like spew out this advice without any nuance. That advice of like, don't talk about your product, don't talk about yourself, talk about them. Yeah, that's if you're doing cold traffic stuff. That's the stuff that you put on your like paid ads, possibly your landing page if they click from a cold traffic ad, that kind of thing. If they've opted into your email list, of course, talk about your product because they're opted in specifically for your product. They're interested in your product. So talk about your product, right? So again, that's a nuance that most people don't get when it comes to that kind of stuff. So yes, talk about them, but also make sure you're talking about your product. Interesting, entertaining, educational content for that specific niche, 15% of the time. Those are cases where you want to give them something. You want them to feel like they got something out of the email, even if they don't click, even if they don't buy something. That's what keeps them opening future emails, even if that particular email isn't meant to generate revenue. And then 5% of the time, you want to test something new or creative, right? So something that's unvalidated is all I mean there, because on every so often you're gonna get a banger, and that's gonna be a future permanent part of your email strategy. Okay, what other questions are we answering? The what, right? What are you claiming? Why? What's in it for them? How do they acquire what's in it for them? So that's just your how or your CTA. How can I prove my claims? That's your proof. Usually it's going to be a product review. Okay, so tips for copywriting. So a quote here, copy is not written, copy is assembled. Let me explain specifically what that means. So you want to lurk all the places your market hangs out. Keep a running document of exactly copy and pasted blurbs of what they're saying, right? Their identity, their problem, their desires, the obstacles and objections that they have. And use the quotes that your market is saying as fodder to write your copy. All right, so this is what's actually going to get you to write copy that joins the conversation that your market's already having in their own head, as opposed to like just random AI corporate marketing speak, sloppy kind of copywriting, right? If you understand their problem and can state it back to them exactly how they would say it in their own words, or even better than they can describe it, where you're getting them to say, oh, that's actually exactly how it feels. I've just never thought about it that way. Like the ADHD tax is a good example of this, right? Like someone might never have heard the word ADHD tax, but once they hear what it is, something clicks in them. They're like, oh, I do have this exact problem. And that's actually how we found that angle, by the way. So this gives you the biggest unfair advantage over your competitors, especially when you do this in aggregate, right? So all your competitors are relying on generic AI corporate marketing speak, or something that like some random intern wrote that isn't a part of that market at all. This is how you stand out, to actually put some time into discovering how your market talks about their problems and say it back to them, presenting your product as the solution. Write from abundance. So when you do this, you will write from abundance. So if you keep a proper copywriting index, so this document, you should feel like you're constantly getting more email ideas than you could possibly send in your brand's lifetime. So if you were opening like a blank document, or if you're opening like a Klaviyo template and you're just like, oh, I don't even know what to send, you've already started at the wrong point. Like, you don't get to a good email from that kind of state. You want to be writing from abundance. You should always feel like, oh, I have like 5 different things I could write an email about right now, and I have to pick one. That should be your problem. Like, you have too many ideas, and now you have to narrow it down to one. So if you're not doing it that way, your emails probably aren't going to be that good if you're just kind of forcing something to come out. Okay, final thoughts. Email campaigns are unlimited, free retargeting. If you're not operating your email marketing with full force, you're literally saying no to free retargeting and choosing to only pay for ads as they continue to rise in price. So that's not smart. If your brand makes $100,000 a month, tap the link in the description to book a call with me, and I'll handle all of this for you. If you're under $100,000 a month, get to $100,000 a month so that we can work together in the future. Like the video, subscribe for more. Leave a comment if there's anything you want me to explain in a future video, or any of these components that you want a full video about. Like, each of these topics I could make probably like an hour-long video about. So let me know what you want to see.